All right, legend. We're rolling out. It's cold as usual. I think it's about probably 4 or 5 Celsius or something like that. Or even lower. It's 36 or something Fahrenheit. It ended up being colder than we thought, and that was forecasted. It's actually the cold weather has settled in our area. Next week we're supposed to get rain. So, don't know what we're doing today. We're just going to roll out and see what our mood dictates. It's 20 Celsius today that I'm doing this recording. That's how drastically our weather changes in the area.
It is cold.
Yep. So I've got 2 layers in my gloves. And I'm wearing the deep winter gloves because it's very cold. It's about 34. You want to make sure your hands are warm. That's really what makes you feel very cold. Your hands in your neck area. See, I got my neck gaiter all the way pulled up, covering my chin. And my ears are covered. That makes a big difference. So a regular cycling cap would not work today, because the high is supposed to be 15 Celsius, if that. About 60 Fahrenheit. Of course, it always feels colder than the air temperature once you're rolling. But we were dressed correctly, so it was very, very enjoyable.
Nice and comfortable.
Yep, makes a difference.
Yep.
You dress the part, you can ride in any kind of condition. Just covering my chin made a big difference in my comfort. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We decided we were going to do our own thing. We left a little later than we normally do. We headed out past the Woodlands Sterling Ridge. We went out on 1488 towards Mount Magnolia. We got on 149 past Karen. We turned on the camera as we approached 149. We filmed all of Jackson Road of 1486. We turned it off there. Got past Bobville through Mount Moriah. We took 1486 to Dacus, the guerrilla route. Then we turned on the camera when we got into the forest. We got some pretty good clips. Once we got out of the forest, we discontinued filming until we got in Hidden Forest Road there, all the way back to Montgomery. I think you will like the clips we got for you. The day started out very cold, but it warmed up very nicely. We were able to get our usual long ride in, I think a little in excess of 7 hours. So hopefully you will enjoy what we put together for you. Wow, legends, it's a little later in the morning. It's after 9 a.m. We're hitting Jackson Road right now. We're gonna get some clips for you all. We're approaching the intersection. It's warmed up just a tad. The sun's coming out. It's a beautiful morning. Fair morning. With Jackson Road and 149. That's where we're headed to. We just turned on the camera here. It's a pleasant morning. It's a whopping 4 Celsius. It's clear back, my brother. There's about probably 36, 37 Fahrenheit, something like that. You will see at the intersection how careless the drivers are. We're gonna get there first, but he's not gonna stop. He's gonna roll the side. Just watch. So you have to be aware. You have to ride defensively and offensively. There he is on the right coming. You see here, we're at the stoplight right here. I signaled to him we're about to go. He just rolls. He never stopped. So I had my eye on him the entire time, and that's what you have to do. But You can't let that ruin your ride. All you do is you make sure that you ride defensively. So he just rolled through the sign. He never stopped. We got to the line before he did. I extended my hand to let him know we're going straight, and he just kept going. A lot of them don't pay attention. Some of them, when they turn into your lane, you know, just careless. That's why you have to be attentive. We're going into the wind. This road, Jackson Road, I like it. It's very, very easy to use. We had a couple of drivers on the road here. Actually, I think just one. They act like they own the road, and when you're using the road, if they have to slow down, or you see that guy passing on the other side, they act like it's a big deal to pass a cyclist. Now, these are the same people who will avoid a pothole with no issues. They want to act like you're not supposed to be using the road that you paid for. So don't let that bother you. There's one of them that comes by in a while and he blows his horn as he goes by. He's forced to pass wide because I see him in the mirror, and I make sure that we hold our position, because he kept coming up, and the road's not busy. You can see on the other side the lane is clear, and he had a clear line of sight. But they act like they should not have to move over. Well, they'll have to get over it. You just have to make sure you're safe when you're out there, that's all. So we don't let it bother us. You know, when he passed and he blew his horn, Paul was like, I think Paul said something, and I told him, I said, did you see me stop pedaling? And then we both laughed. The joke is, yeah, you keep going on doing what you need to do. You know. So it's a very, very cold morning right now, but we're dressed apart. You can see 4 Celsius, and we're heading into the wind. So our plan was to just do a nice long ride, because during the week we weren't able to get out. So this is a good opportunity, and we always take advantage of it. We make an appointment with our bike, especially for Saturdays. In a little while, we're going to change positions. I'm going to get the camera and film, and then Paul will take the lead. I think that driver gets upset when we're swapping back, when I'm coming back to the front. I think that's when it happened, because I had to move over in the lane to get the camera from Paul as we changed positions. And, you know, he was way back. He saw us just being a jerk.
Was it filming the water?
And, you know, misery loves company. We don't participate in that. We keep on keeping on. So Paul comes to the front.
Sometimes with these gloves, I find it easier to just grab the body of the camera to start.
Yeah, with the bulky gloves, we really have trouble. Now the one went by. Yeah, that's the first one. He went by gunning his engine. I guess that's supposed to impress us that he can put his foot on a gas pedal. Now look at this morning. Is that beautiful or what? The best way to spend a Saturday morning. Do what you love doing, whether it's skiing, cycling, hiking, whatever you're into. Don't let anything deter you. Do not allow ignorant people to ruin your day. That's not your problem. They need to self-educate. Look how beautiful this road is. I think this is here. I hand Paul the camera. You will hear him blow. You see, I take up the lane. I see him back there. I move over so Paul can go ahead and go on my left. Then he'll come by and blow. Yeah, that's the genius. I guess we're supposed to stop riding because he's on the road. So don't let that bother you. You keep it on.
Folks.
I don't remember what Paul said, but I said to him, I said, did you see me stop pedaling? I think this is where I thought I said that to Paul. He kind of laughed. Yeah, it's kind of like shrug it off and keep moving on. These people will have miserable lives that go out there acting like jerk. Let them annoy someone else. They'll annoy the wrong person and get the wrong kind of response. Don't let that ruin your day. They're not worth it. They're not important. Not to you anyway, so why let it bother you? You gotta be like Teflon Don. Let it bounce off and keep going and get them out of your head immediately. And we just go on and keep the rhythm, keep turning the rhythm. That's what you must do. Because it's easy to remember those yahoos, but don't do that. That's not a, you know. You have the right to use the road that you paid for. They don't like it, they can go live somewhere else. It's really that simple. There we go. We get into a rhythm here. We know there are hills coming up towards the end of Jackson Road. We know we've got a long day, so we're just basically riding, zone 2, thereabouts. That's where we're trying to stay. Because right now it's time to build your aerobic engine. Don't follow the groups that hammer all year round. If you don't have an event coming up that you need to peak for, this is the time to build your base. So if you do ride with a group, sit in if you can, and if it keeps you in your zone. If not, let them go, or ride by yourself or with your buddy who has a similar plan. We're hoping that we're going to get more rides, scheduled rides this year, and so especially in our region that we can go and do stuff. We're hoping that they can get COVID-19 reined in with the vaccinations that they're going to start rolling out, get everybody kind of, I guess, protected against flare-ups if you do get it, and that will keep people out of the hospitals, and hopefully we'll start getting back to some kind of normalcy. That's the long-term hope here. I stand a little bit, just change up the rhythms. I've got the Colnago again. I'm really enjoying riding it. I found something in my tire after our ride this Saturday on my usual inspection. I found it Sunday afternoon. There was, I don't know if it was glass or whatever, but some material worked its way into the tire. As soon as I removed it, the air started hissing out. But the cool thing is, I had a puncture months ago on the same tire, and I used the stand sealant. So within seconds, it sealed itself. And I aired it back up, checked it this morning, and it's no worse for wear. So the sealants really work. They do have tubes that have removable valve cores. For those of you that don't ride sew-ups, you can add sealant to your tubes also. And they're not as heavy, like stands is not like those slime things that they add in some, especially tubeless tires. So the stand sealant is very lightweight. You just put a few ounces in there. That's what I have in that tire. And it really, really works. I was very impressed. The tire never deflated completely, even though I pulled out a significant piece. And I think they have a limit. I think it's up to like 1/8 of an inch, the size of the hole that it will seal. But I should be able to get a lot of wear out of these tires because I've been riding them all winter. So it beats trying to patch a tube all the time. If you use sealants, it's actually a good idea if you can. But with the sew-ups, I think it's a great thing for sew-ups because back in the day we didn't have sealants, and it was a headache trying to repair sew-ups.
I like that they're coming
So the thing is that as we ride, we get a chance to chat. We catch up because the whole week we were busy with other things. And you will see in the forest, Paul and I would start discussing because I noticed that when he would stand, he was doing something a little different than he used to do before. So I pointed out something. I mean, these are the kind of things we work on. We do some drills.
Yep. That cruiser should be ashamed of himself.
Your cycling should be fun. Don't treat it like, oh, well, not every ride should be where you're angry or you're working on the higher zones. That's the reason why we advocate having a training plan. You need to have a purpose for each ride. Even if you get in with a group, you have your own goals for that ride. And there are times when you have to let people go in a group that are doing things that you're not ready to do at that time of the year or whatever. The tights I'm wearing, you can see a little bit of red in there. It's Sopaso. They have a red insert that Castelli puts in there. That's what you see. And I'm sure it makes it breathable. If you notice, it's on the back, and the front is darker because that blocks the cold air. But what I found was that my Rafa Protein tights were warmer than these Sopaso tights when used in the same temperature range. So it definitely speeds up the time if you have company when you're riding. But when you ride solo, if you have a plan and you know what you need to do, then you really don't feel it. You know, and just being on the bike is fun anyway, whether I'm riding with somebody or not. I just love being on the bike. But every ride does have a purpose, so I focus on that and make sure that I get that particular workout in. Because you don't want to spend hours out there not hitting your objectives. The road is slightly downhill here. I shift up to keep my rhythm the same.
I just love this road, my brother.
Jackson Road, they have cleaned it up nicely. It used to have a lot of ruts on the right side where you see me riding from the right tire of cars. They've cleaned it up very well. So where you see me riding, most of the time, a lot of motorcyclists, that's where they place themselves because it gives you that buffer. I've talked about it in other videos, but this is where you are supposed to ride. As a courtesy, you can move over if it's safe to allow people to pass, but that's where you should ride. They are supposed to pass you by moving over. In our area, the ordinance says 3 feet. And in other countries in the world, they have the same rules, but a lot of drivers are ignorant about that. They pass you closer than they would pass a parked car. So a lot of time you have to really take the road to make sure they move over. We're talking about the hill. The hill is kicking in now. And so since it's long, we're going to downshift so we can enjoy it and ride it. When you're working on your base, enjoy the hills in your area. Because later on, when it's time to go fast, you will know how the undulations work on your favorite climbs. This one is about 3% here.
Yeah.
Right in front of him.
You couldn't see where you're going.
You see how I'm pulling up? All that comes from having your saddle set correctly, the height, the foreaft, and your cleats positioned properly on your foot so you don't need to be moving around. That eliminates saddle sores. You can see I am not moving around. I'm just riding. The bike is at a point in space. And this is how you build your strength. You got to ride these climbs and work. You got to walk before you can run. You have specific rides where you're working on speed, endurance, muscular endurance, leg speed. There's a lot of different drills you can do. But without a proper plan, you won't know how to really put them together. It's a cocktail so that you can get ready for your events. I rode with Team RR on Sunday after this ride. Paul was not riding on Sunday, and they were asking me, when are you guys filming? I don't see your camera. I told them, I said, we did the film yesterday. This is the film I'm narrating. And I guess then one of them asked me, he said, who are you riding with? I said, just Paul and I. But it's kind of like on the Sunday ride, I just sat in. I did a few pulls, but nothing very hard. At the end of the ride, when we're coming back into town, they started sprinting up a climb or whatever. I just kept my gears moderate and spun because it's not the time for me to be doing all that serious anaerobic stuff. So you gotta focus. You gotta have a plan. Don't let the group dictate what you do. Go to the group when it meets your need and do what conforms to what you're trying to accomplish during that ride. Use the group to help you accomplish your goals. We're doing our own thing because we wanted to keep this ride steady for the duration. Because after the holidays we backed off for a little bit and now we're building back up. So maybe next week we'll join them and film. So whenever you stand, you want to get some kind of a rhythm to where you're not laboring and you're not spinning out the gear you're in so that you're all over the bike or the bike is all over the road. The gear needs to be large enough to where you're taking the bike for a walk under control. We'll discuss this on film. I will walk you through in a little bit. We get into the forest and then I show Paul sitting and standing, and so you can see that there is no change in my rhythm when I transition. Yeah, they paved the right side of the road here. That's what Paul's talking about. Probably to prevent the road from washing off. That's what it is. That's just the edge of the pavement they're trying to protect. Because when the dirt washes away, the road starts falling away.
All right.
We turn on 1486 here. We're headed more north.
All right, legends, we're in the forest. Decided to get some clips here. Didn't warm up much. It says 49, it's like 9 Celsius.
We're on Bethel Road in the forest after the gorilla route. We turn on the camera here. And of course, we turn it on the hill. That's what I told Paul.
Of course, we have to start on the climb.
Yeah.
It's about 2 or 3%. Yeah, 3%. Yeah. But that's why we go this route, because even though we're building, by riding certain terrain, you build strength as well.
Next time we come, check out that room just fast.
Yeah.
There's a road on the left called Fawn
Same
Forest.
thing.
That's why I was telling Paul we need to check that out. It's like a shoehorn, and from that side it goes up. I could see it. It's at least 3% going that way. So I told him next time we'll check that out. It comes out ahead. You will see where it comes out. We got some ruts in the forest. The water, the rain is washing away parts of the road in here. They have replaced sections of this road in the forest, thankfully, because they were really getting washed away. It was in here that I noticed that my rear wheel, when I would shift to my smallest combination, the cage was rubbing. And in a few kilometers, we found out that there's the road I was talking about. It comes out here. It's like a shoehorn. So we'll check it out. But the bumps on the road that we came in just got to those wheels. But I got that sorted once I got it back. Got it trued and tensioned. I'm gonna add some thread locker to the nipples on the rear. I was riding the Colnago on Sunday with the Team RR boys after this ride, and a guy named Rob, one of our local riders, we stopped at an intersection. I think about 2 hours into the ride, he said, "Oh wow, I love that frame." And he's a fan of steel frames. He rides steel frames made by a local builder called Hans Schneider, who lives in the Huntsville area. And so I told him, "Oh, thank you." You know, I guess he didn't notice the bike until we're at an intersection, and I guess the light hit the wheels and everything. Just he took everything in with the chrome and everything. He was like, "Wow," you know. This is a slight descent here. These areas that we're showing here are always colder than in town. You can see it says 8 Celsius. So it's approaching, it's probably 46, 47 degrees Fahrenheit. They're colder in the summer, they're cooler because of the trees and everything. So we always dress appropriately when we headed north, because you can't go by what the temperature says from home. So most of our riding on reasonable terrain, we're riding between 17 to 20 miles an hour, thereabout. When we come to the climbs, of course, especially for build rides like these, the speed drops. But we don't really ride to hit a certain speed. The effort drives that, and then the conditions will give us the speed. So we keep the effort in the same zone. If you've been watching and paying attention to my heart rate, it's been staying in the 140s. That's like zone 2 for me. So depending on how Paul is feeling, he'll spend more time or less time at the front when he takes his polls. I don't mind staying at the front longer, because then I'll just stay in the zone longer, which is a harder workout. In fact, when I rode on Sunday with the Team RR guys, I still had not recovered as well as I usually do. I felt a little below par. You know, I mean, I was fine, but I could tell. Because my training is a little erratic. You know, we're just trying to get back to some kind of normal schedule. So hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get it stabilized. But when you miss some training, sometimes you have to back off a bit on your weekend rides. I say this frequently because most of the riders we ride with, like even on Sunday, they move around a lot. You probably see the same thing in your rides. They're moving all over the saddle, they're scooting around, pedal, then shift back or scoot forward, all that kind of stuff. You shouldn't have to do that if things are set up correctly. And if you don't address that, what ends up happening is you have a lot of chafing, you have a lot of discomfort, and it really just dulls your ability to want to get back on the bike for the next ride. So you really have to make sure that you invest time into perfecting your fit. And if you need help, get help from a pro. Get some help from a pro and get your fit dialed in. All right. So Paul takes the lead here. And this is what we're working on. When I got behind him, I was messing with the camera, but then I noticed that when he would stand, watch him, I think he was probably reacting to the irregularities in the pavement maybe. But anyway, I noticed that when he would sit, there was a slight hesitation as he touched the saddle. And being as meticulous as I am, I had to point that out and say, oh, no, that's not what you used to do. And then I showed him and he said, oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to. So I told him, yeah, you got to watch that before you get used to doing it that way. See right there, he sat down. There was a break in his pedaling as he touched the saddle. I told him there should be no hesitation. Your pedaling should not stop. This is a nice little descent right here in the forest. The tights that Paul's wearing, there's the Rafa Protein tights with pad. I think it's the version 2. I love the convicts of the road stripes, and I know Cycle Warrior would appreciate that. It's very visible. Get a side view here. I'm messing with the camera. I think I go in front of him and then I shoot from the front. Yeah. We're both wearing our Rafa deep winter gloves from a couple of seasons ago. So when you're building your base and you come to a climb and you want to stand for a long time, yeah, you're going to use more energy, it's going to hurt, but you're putting in the work. You're getting your body to tolerate that. It's a different way of working your muscles. You hit them from a different angle. See how visible those stripes are? And they're well placed. That's a good spot to put them. The reason we come through the forest is because not only is it challenging, it is quiet, very low traffic. You can see we're not getting a lot of cars passing us. So you get to get a workout. You can focus on riding, taking in the sights. You're not breathing fumes, all that kind of stuff. So if you live in a busy area, let's say a city, whatever, then consider doing your rides maybe early in the morning or later in the evening when things are not as congested, because you stand a better chance of getting less interruptions. If you can avoid it, try not to ride when it's busy, because your goal is not to be impeded by traffic when you're out riding your bike. Now, if you live in an area that has enough cycle paths and so forth, you can ride any time of the day. That's great. Even on cycle paths, some areas allow walkers, runners, hikers to use it. So you have to pick a time when it's not crowded. Otherwise, you're moving around the other users of the cycle paths.
See them cutting the corners over there?
Yeah.
I was telling him that we had backed off when we got in that corner because the drivers come around that corner and they move across. That's why last week videos I was saying that when they're passing, I don't stay on the left side of the lane where you see me right now. I stay to the right because they don't stay on their side of the road.
Yeah. I'm pulling on it, so I always just hold it in my hand.
So we switched the cameras. Paul has the camera now. I go ahead and take the lead. And I think in about half a kilometer, I'm going to talk to him about on the standing routine that we usually do, and we do a few iterations of it to kind of show you guys. So when you stand and you sit, your pedaling should not cease. I think around here is where I begin the drills.
Yeah.
So right here, see, I stand, then I sit, and then what he was doing, he was hesitating.
Keep pedaling.
You see, my pedaling didn't stop.
Okay.
Stand. So it causes your bike to come back.
Okay.
You notice?
I see.
Nothing changed.
Continue the
Pedaling cannot stop.
right.
There should be no cessation of your pedaling as you sit. So you don't need to let anybody know you're going to stand or whatever. That is not necessary if you don't allow the bike to sag back.
Yeah.
Causes your back tire to come back. Not bad, Liv. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Proper with this, sit, and usually I'll sit on the downstroke.
Okay.
So you can find whatever works for you with your style, but the key is that the momentum of the bicycle must be maintained as you stand or sit. And it's best to stand on the downstroke. You can sit on either one, but just make sure that you don't stop pedaling, because the saddle is just there. You don't need the saddle for pedaling necessarily.
I don't do it all the time, but I noticed it back there.
Okay.
I thought I would just point it out so that you'd be aware of it, so you don't get used to it.
Right.
The road cakes up here. You see it says 3%. They sneak up on you in the forest here. My effort at this point is outside of the zone we needed to be in. We're well into zone 3, sweet spot.
Yeah.
Because we've been climbing for a while, and I was in and out of the saddle.
That's what the bike markers on.
Yeah.
What the hell? Never seen that before. Just stand.
So when you stand and sit like we just showed you, you don't need to change anything you're doing. You don't need to alert anybody, because your bike will maintain its position. So another reason we like these roads is they're up and down, low traffic, it's challenging, and then you basically can focus on whatever drills you need to do without interruptions from the other road users, because there aren't that many cars here. Most of the time we're out here anyway, and it's always like this. It doesn't matter what day of the week you come out. So find the quieter routes in your area. If you're new to an area, visit the local bike shop, talk to the guys that work there. They'll show you some routes. Or if you have a Garmin thing, you can use Garmin Connect and look at what they call the heat maps. That lets you know where all the cyclists are riding, and you can create your own routes. Or you can hook up with a local group and the same routes they use on the weekend. If it's in your area, you use that when you ride solo. So there's so many ways. There's no reason not to be able to find quiet roads. Not all the roads will be quiet. You use some busier roads to get to these quiet roads, but it's worth the journey. You can use the busy roads to warm up, and then once you get out here, you do your workout.
Yep.
We're approaching Highway 149 up here. The name changes as we go across 149. This road becomes 1791. So everything I'm showing is not just for people that compete. If you're going to ride a bike, it benefits every bicyclist.
We're about to enter the forest. The day has turned out to be fabulous. So you can't let the cold weather stop you.
This is the southeastern tip
Weather
of the
changes.
forest that we're going to enter. This road is called Hidden Forest Road, which leads to Mount Pleasant Road. We're on the western part, on Bethel Road. The Sam Houston National Forest covers a large part of the northern Montgomery County area.
Look at this road, man. Beautiful.
New pavement out here.
Without the cable. Look at it.
Used to be real choppy. They cleaned it up nicely, you know, for a few kilometers. There are other sections they could improve. At this point, we had already stopped and worked on my rear wheel. One spoke came loose with all the bumps that we had encountered. So I tightened it up and we're rolling. I have a multi-tool that has a spoke wrench built in. It came in handy because I had a different pouch on this ride that didn't have my actual Park Tool spoke wrench in there. It worked fine. Road goes up, I stand.
Yep.
This is the reason we focus on effort. I don't really care that it's 21 kilometers an hour. What I'm more concerned about is that even though it says 320 watts, I'm in zone 2 because I'm not holding 320 watts the whole time. It's just for the little crest of that climb. So that the wattage average is in zone 2. That's the thing where you get hung up too much on parameters. You got to really use smoothing or averages to really get a good representation, which is why I think it's great to work with parameters and heart rate monitors together. I think they complement each other very well. They each have their strengths. But when I'm riding, I do it by feel. Celsius is warmed up a bit in the mid 50s Fahrenheit. This is where the beautiful pavement ends. It continues straight on that side into a subdivision back there. We've been down there. We filmed the lake that's in the Hidden Forest Lake. This is Mount Pleasant Road. It's all chopped up. They've patched certain parts of it. They really should have left it alone because it looked like they just dropped the asphalt like little globs of asphalt. And all I'm doing, I'm looking for the smoothest route to track. Uncharacteristic to this road as we end the journey on this road later in probably about 10 kilometers, there's a bunch of traffic. It seems like a group of guys must have gone out together, because we never see that kind of volume on here. It's probably about 7 or 8 trucks in succession that pass us and create kind of a traffic jam at the stop sign to get to 1097 as we exit the forest. At this point, we've put our gloves under our bibs in the small of the back, because I took off the large gloves because it's warmed up enough, and I didn't want to use my pocket, so it's under my jersey, under the bib itself, up against my base layer. That's a good spot. Paul's gloves are there too, so that's another area you can use to store stuff.
Getting the same slippage
because it's very secure.
But what I'm doing, I'm resting my knuckle on the bottom of it. That holds it in place. You know
We're discussing the handling of the camera. We're always trying different things based on, like, the liners we wear is very slippery on the material on the handle of the stick that the camera is attached to. So we kind of do different things. And I was just pointing out what I found, and he's going to try it in a bit. But what I was saying is that you can put stuff under your bibs in the back, between the bibs and your body. And you can store stuff in there. You can free up your pockets. You can put stuff under your jersey, especially if your jersey fits you well. You can put stuff behind your neck at the top. There's a lot of versatility. You can carry a lot of stuff and keep your pockets for essentials. You can see my larger gloves are off, and my liners, those are made by Defeat. They have little feet in the hands in the shape of little feet. They're grippers, and they work really well. But they're a great liner when it's very cold.
The little gap that you leave at the bottom of it, that cuts out the spinning. See where I'm holding?
Yeah.
That cuts out that spinning.
Yes.
Curve.
So we're finding a different way to handle our camera, and we practice that to where it becomes second nature. We don't have to think about it.
Yeah, that's the, I figured that out back there too. I said when you pull it up and in that little loop,
Yep.
you hold it better.
Yep. Car back.
The road's very choppy in here, so we make sure we're reading it to where we're not slamming into too many bumps. When we do have to go over a lot of bumps, you unload the bike. There's a slight descent here, then it's going to level off.
So
They've been doing some patching, but they should just go ahead and pave.
This.
Yeah.
Look at that. That.
But it's like, if they make this road too perfect, we'll probably get too busy. So I don't mind it. I don't mind the current condition of it. It has some choppy points, but for the most part, it's okay.
Anchoring it. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You should try it. Here.
So I hand Paul the camera so he can try to think the hand position I was talking about.
The middle finger should be in the hook, in the little space. So your middle finger for your knuckle under the bottom of it. And get away. It's full control. The middle finger in that space.
But these are the things we practice so that when we're with the group, we don't have to think about it. It becomes second nature, and get all kinds of different positions that we hold. This is how we're able to get these shots, because if somebody's following us in a car trying to shoot us, it's not as intimate. You don't feel like you're riding with us. So the way we film, you feel like you're on a bike and you're along for the ride. It's more challenging, but the results speak for themselves.
With anything, that's a good hole.
Yep.
Let's go with those guys.
Yep.
That's a very reliable hole.
So we found another hole. I mean, we're always finding different positions, things we can do based on how we're riding, how hard we're going, and so forth. So we're always trying different positions. So much more versatility than attaching the camera to the bike so it can bounce around and have one view for 6 hours. That's just too boring. So with the way we film, you see what we see. I'm putting more weight on the pedals here because the road's a little choppy. We're going to be turning.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm still looking at it. Yeah.
So what happens is the reason why we tried this new position is when we use liners, they were slick and slippery. Camera sliding around, this and that. So this hold eliminated that. You see all the patches they try to do on the right. They're not the smoothest. I mean, they should have done a better job. They just dropped them there. The road kicks up. It's going to go left. Look at how you see all the shadows from the trees. So in the summer, it's always cooler here because the trees have more leaves, of course. And so you get more transpiration in the morning. The air's cleaner. Everything about it is better. That's another reason we love coming out here. Air quality is better. So you don't need to be killing yourself every time you go out on your bike. Get a program together. If you don't have one, go on our website. We have a bunch of different programs depending on the time of year and what you're trying to accomplish so that you can focus. Because every time we head out the door, we have a plan. And that's the way it should be. If you're going out to just sightsee, that's a plan.
Oh yeah.
You want to lose weight, you got to focus on which zones to stay in so you can drop the weight. And focus on the cadences you need to do so you can burn more calories in that zone. In a little bit, I run the credits here before we get towards the end of the forest where all the climbs are coming thick and fast. It gets a little busy with traffic towards the end, but it did not impede what we were trying to accomplish. But you find a place like this that you can ride for a lot of kilometers undisturbed, and the quality of your exercise goes up. We thank all our sponsors, our supporters, of course our patrons, and our channel members. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to do this. Consider becoming a member of the channel on YouTube and take advantage of the perks. Primarily our weekly members only premiere, so we get to watch the video together. The road goes up here. You can see the grade over 5%. I think it gets to about 7. There's a car behind us, so I go to the right, thinking he might try to pass. Because Paul is on my left. It's going to level off here. I can see him in the mirror. But he was patient because he was turning in less than a kilometer, so he sat back there, I believe. So went over one climb, and you can see the next one in the distance. Curves to the right. Nice climbs, but the roads are choppy going over them. You see all the cracks in the pavement. Lots of patina out here. The climb begins. I told him bump because it's real bumpy, so I stood up. And this is a longer one. The climb's not over. So every time I sit, I find a gear that works to keep my cadence in the same range, and when I stand, I increase my gearing. You are recruiting more muscles, so your effort go up. Your effort goes up, so where you can see I'm in the bottom of zone 4. That's what I mean. So even though our goal is zone 2, I'm waving him up, but I don't think he goes. I think he's going to be turning. There is a road coming up right here on the right. I think that's where he turns. Yeah, right there. He turned right into that. When I looked in the mirror, I saw him. It's a nice long climb.
The one thing I noticed about that position, when you're in a bumpy road, you intend to
what Paul's talking about is the camera hold that we're working on. He was saying that the handle moves when you're on a bumpy road, so he was explaining to me how he found a fix for that. I think this is where it starts getting real busy. All of a sudden we start getting all these cars passing, which is unusual for this road.
Yeah, I keep doing. I'm holding it back here.
I told him to tap the bottom of the handle if he wants to close the gap. There's a little gap that we create. It's like a hook built into the stick, and it's really neat. And so he said, yeah. So we discuss those things, and we come up with different ways to get more creative shots without having to think about it. So right around here, I think we start getting a lot of cars going by. There were a bunch of trucks that start coming by, and we're like, Me and my mom like, well, what's going on? It's almost like you get like a batch of motorcyclists that are together on an outing, and I think all these guys must have gone somewhere together. Because it's very unusual. In a computer world, we call it an anomaly. So that's the first one. They all have to be together. We don't get that many, especially trucks on this road. So we just noticed that all of a sudden we're getting all these cars queuing up behind us, all these trucks. There's another one. And there will be a guy with a couple of flags on his truck that comes by flapping in the wind. And it's very loud because the wind is out here. Yeah, there. It was very loud when he went by. We're almost out of the forest. 1097 comes up after this climb. There's a bit of a climb here. It gets to like 3.5 or 4.5%. I see them in the mirror. I know they're back there. I wave him up because I can see around the corner that is clear. So he goes ahead and he goes. I think they're all together. But you'll see that when we get to the corner, there's like a traffic jam because there's a stop sign and that's a busy highway. So they weren't able to get onto the highway. So there's a queue. As soon as we get over this hump, this little slope here. So right around that corner, they're all queued up. So yeah, in this situation, you take the road. There's no point for you to be on the right. Your vehicle in the line. I speed it up here to do a bit of a time lapse. You can see all their buddies are behind us. We're there for a bit because it's a stop sign and they had to wait because that highway was busy. So after that, we're able to roll through. It's clear. So I hope you all got a chance to get out this weekend, but this is part of what we did on Saturday. Make sure you get your K's in and keep those doctors far.